Anachronox is a third-person sci-fi role-playing game created by Tom Hall and Ironstorm Games in 2001. You start the game as Sylvester Sly Boots Buccelli, a down-on-his-luck, alcoholic, debt-stricken private eye who you first see getting flung through the window of his own putrescent excuse for an office by a diminutive minion of his arch-nemesis, a gangster fish beast called Debtor, to whom Boots owes more money than he'll ever be able to pay back, and the ultimate late fee will most likely take the form of severed limbs. With such a sad set of circumstances, it is perhaps little wonder that Boots' first course of action is to head to the bar in yet another desperate attempt to drown away his troubles. Our hero, ladies and gentlemen. After this introduction, your embittered phantasmal secretary Fatima sends you into the wider world to make yourself useful and earn some money. At once you'll get a sense of the scale and innovative design of the titular world Anachronox, a massive, markedly three-dimensional environment riddled with interesting characters, often beautiful scenery, and plenty of background happenstancery to make for a captivating, realistic locale in which to wander. And this is just one of the planets and installations you'll visit, though admittedly it is the most impressive, in my opinion at least. Sadly, the same cannot be said for the character models, many of whom are carbon copies of each other, which may be forgivable in terms of certain alien races and that one fellow who can duplicate himself, but I can't help but feel that it robs from the immersion factor a little when you see completely different people with the same face on the succession of worlds. The character models themselves range from the bland to the indecipherable, as for that matter to the expressions of the player characters. I don't want to give away too many spoilers, so I'll just echo the back of the box which proudly announces that it is your job to save the universe. As absurd as that may sound without context, especially considering the state of the protagonist, in practice it is actually the focal point of a very complex, engrossing and impeccably told storyline. Compounding the quality storytelling are 7 playable characters, or 8 if you include Fatima, who is the cursor. All brandish well-developed personalities, with one exception, and for your convenience, here is a brief and largely vague introduction to each. Grumpos Grumpos, a bearded yammering sage of sorts. Pal 18, a small wheeled robot, the friend, servant and or punching bag of Boots. Dr. Ro Bowman, a green-coated scientist, foremost authority on Mystech, one of the more unconventional and spiffy weapons in the game. She has been exiled from the scientific community for heresy, strangely enough. Democritus, a shrunken planet. Stiletto Anyway, once an apprentice detective in Boots' service, now a scarred, vengeful, knife-wielding mercenary clad all in blue leather. Paco El Puño Estrella, a superhero driven to drink. As this lineup may suggest, the overall theme running through Anachronox is one of tongue-in-cheek humour, but at several moments during the game, things will, in a suitably dramatic fashion, get serious. Most noticeably is the gradually revealed backstory which shows how several of the main characters became what they are when you first meet them. And by the end, the idea that this gaggle of bedlamites, reprobates and oddities is supposed to save the universe suddenly becomes a lot more plausible. All your characters have a special ability. Boots, for example, can open locked doors, Democritus is equipped with a tractor beam, Paco can smash things, etc. These skills start out at basic levels and in some circumstances will be insufficient for the task at hand, and thus must be upgraded to a master level. How is this accomplished? Well, for some you'll find out on your own, some will require checking of the walkthrough. Gameplay-wise, you control a maximum of 3 party members at any given time. Sometimes these will be pre-selected, sometimes it will be up to you who you take on certain missions. The set levels follow the traditional theme of fighting your way through a particular location and smiting the final boss at the end, though you will get some sporadic hostile encounters appear randomly. Combat follows a Final Fantasy-style turn-based system. As the game progresses, the weapons and abilities available to you increase, as does the impressiveness of the spectacles you're treated to. The majority of battles are creative, visually impressive events. However, during any level, you will find yourself fighting the same enemies with the same weapons several times over, and it won't take long for it to become repetitive, and odds are you'll find yourself impatient to reach the final boss soon enough. Much like the rest of the game, what's especially interesting about combat is the shift between laughable and dramatic scenarios. Battles can either feel like whimsical spats with absurd enemies, or else gripping dramatic fights with genuinely threatening enemies or unholy megaliths. The game is packed to the gunwales with side quests and characters providing helpful contextual information for the game at large, or else just sporadic comic relief. On your first playthrough, it might be tempting to strictly follow the main storyline, especially considering the sense of urgency that the impending destruction of the universe might convey, but trust me, procrastinate and go exploring. There is a ton of niftiness to uncover and ample rewards for completing side quests, and you'll want to be as experienced and powerful as possible when it comes to that final battle. The music throughout the game is impeccable and does much to generate atmosphere, both serious and silly once again. from the quiet, almost despairing theme playing through the seedy slums of Anachronox itself, to the hammed-up dramatic tension of the villain ship, ideal for when you're fighting those dreaded, dastardly, disreputable, diabolical, deplorable, despicable, devilish devil slugs. The voice acting is also enjoyable for the most part, again effectively portraying silliness and seriousness as the situation warrants.
Okay, so let's start over. I'll take the case.
I shall kill you with death.
We were no match against their weapons and armor. 1/3 of my people were slaughtered in one afternoon.
Can't we wait for her in space?
Overall, by virtue of its quality storytelling, gripping atmosphere, likeable characters, and decent gameplay, Anachronox is certainly worth your time. Just bear in mind that it will probably wind up requiring a great deal of your time.